When we got the call to go out on tour with Kiss, that was one of those sort of Mount Rushmore moments for us where it was, oh my God, we're gonna tour with Kiss. We'd already known Gene and Paul for a couple years already. So by the time, again, going out and touring with them, another dream come true for us. It was a tough time. It was kind of the height and beginning of the grunge bulldozer, if you will. And that was when our second record here was being released. And we had worked so hard making this incredible record, which I like to call Trixter's Sgt. Pepper or Dark Side of the Moon. But anybody that listens to it, it's a phenomenal record. We worked with Jimbo Barton, who produced and engineered Rush and Queensryche. Phenomenal. We worked so hard on it, but it wouldn't have mattered if it was Sgt. Pepper, because for a hard rock hair band, if you will, like Trixter to release a record in the fall of 1992, there was no chance in the world we were gonna, break through. Sadly, our peak, we only toured America and Canada. That's it. It was a shame, but sadly, again, our managers were young and they did not have the foresight to know, hey man, maybe if we take some money and invest and bring you guys over to Europe or, Asia, that you could build a fan base over there. They were more concerned, look, you gotta strike while the iron's hot. We were hot in America. We had some distribution problems with MCA Records, with Universal Distribution at that time. The first Trixter record didn't come out for a couple months later in Europe. There was a lot of weird stuff going on. It's kind of a shame because, Bon Jovi, they were the blueprint for us, and Bon Jovi was big in Europe and in Japan before they broke in America. So we were kind of going like, why aren't we in Europe? Why are we not in Japan? And it was just, it was kind of like our managers were like, listen, you're making money here, and this is where you're number one on MTV here. You're not number one on MTV in Europe or Japan. We got that very quickly when we were on the Kiss tour. It was the first week of the Kiss tour. We were just about to play the Meadowlands Arena, our hometown arena, big time, opening for Kiss. All family, friends, everybody coming to the show. And I remember I kept asking my manager, we made a video for the first single, Road of a Thousand Dreams. I remember we kept asking our manager, when is MTV gonna add the video? That's what it was like, when are they gonna start playing? And then he was always, oh, next week, next week, next week. Finally, the record comes out, we're out on tour with Kiss the first week, and I go, what's happening? My manager goes, listen, I got bad news. MTV's not playing your video. And that was the first kind of gut punch. And we sort of knew, with Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, you saw what was happening. And, luckily for us, for Trixter, we were never a glam. We weren't wearing those custom clothes that all the other bands. We were wearing jeans, t-shirts, once in a while some leather pants, a leather vest. We had already changed our image to some degree to where we were, by the time we were out with Kiss, we were really plain, as everybody was at that point. But we had no idea. We had just signed $1 million record deal, renegotiating the MCA. We were living in this Trixter bubble where life is good. Everybody's got money in their bank account. We're driving nice cars and trucks. We're working in the best recording studios, living in New York and LA, back and forth. And no one tapped me on the shoulder and said, Steve, you should prepare yourself that there's this new thing called grunge that's gonna wipe you out, and is wiping you out, and you don't even know it yet. I don't think anybody could have told me anything different because there was so much tunnel vision. We made this phenomenal record, and no matter what happens, in our legacy, we have this great record, which is our hysteria, our Slippery When Wet. Just didn't translate into sales. On the Kiss tour, it was a dream come true playing. We had a lot of great shows. We got to watch Kiss make Kiss Alive 3 while we were there. I remember sitting in the remote recording truck with Eddie Kramer when they were in Detroit at the Palace of Auburn Hills, which is the big arena there. As he's recording, he's doing stuff, and he goes, Steve, what do you think of this? Sounds pretty good, right? And I'm just like, it's one of those moments where you pinch yourself. I'm in the remote recording truck with Eddie Kramer, the guy who produced Kiss Alive and Love Gun, and you know, we're watching Kiss-tory here. So it was, you know, a magical time, even though it was kind of the beginning of the end. That would have to be when I played my first ever show with Def Leppard, which was at Wembley Stadium in the UK, 2014. Def Leppard was asked to do pregame for one of the first NFL games that were at Wembley Stadium. It was the Oakland Raiders and the Miami Dolphins. That was my first, you know, I'd already been sort of waiting in the wings for about a year. 2013 is when I started my tenure with Def Leppard as the backup guitar player. Vivian Campbell was diagnosed with cancer and they needed a backup guy. Summer of 2014, I went out on tour with Kiss and Def Leppard. They had a package tour, and I started rehearsing with them. And I had no idea that I was gonna do Wembley. And then like 3 weeks before, the manager sends me a text, "Steve, get yourself ready. You're gonna be doing Wembley with us." I've known the Def Leppard guys since I was 17 years old. They're like family. And it was like, sure, okay, this is gonna be my first Def Leppard gig. You know, not a secret theater gig or a small club gig to get me warmed up. Nah, just throw Steve into, you know, playing his biggest gig. At that point, I had never even been to London before. So here I am going for the first time to play with Def Leppard, but go to England and play in front of 90,000 people in Wembley Stadium, and then another billion watching on TV.